Hello, this is David White from the Sportsman's Emporium, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about running a dropper rig or a two-fly setup on a fly rod. You know, it's really popular, I think it's getting popular, to run a dry fly on top with a little piece of tippet or line dropping down below off of that shank of the hook to have a nymph underwater so that you have two flies going at the same time. Some people also use two underwater flies, but there's been a lot of questions here in the shop lately on how to link those two flies together, where to tie your knot and what not to use. And it's actually really simple, and I'm going to use a bare shaft hook that's big and then another big fly as an example. But on the stream, I would probably be using smaller flies to do this, but I just want you to be able to see the actual knots. So in general, what you would do, you know, let's say you're using a dry fly, which is a fly that floats on top of the surface. And then you can, you know, drop a little piece of line off of that and put an underwater fly that floats underneath of it, and they both kind of float down the water column. What happens is obviously you get two chances to catch the fish, but also if a fish takes the underwater fly, it'll actually sink the top fly, and it'll give you a good indication that you're getting a bite, and that's when you set your hook. So the top fly is not just a fly that can catch a fish, it's also a strike indicator, you know, and it'll let you know when your bottom fly is getting eaten. So, and it's really simple to set it up. You know, there's no really fancy knots or anything. Basically what you would do is you take your top fly and you look at the bend of the hook here. Right around the bend, you're just going to take your tippet, and I'm using fly line backing for visual purposes, so you can see it a little bit better. And basically what you're going to do to this is tie it just like you would tie any regular lure or fly onto the hook, and you're just going to use the double clinch knot. And so what I'm going to do is put my line around the shank of the hook, and I'm going to give it a few twists to get it twisting. I like to do 4 to 6 twists is usually good enough. And what you want to do, you don't want to get it too tight, because this little loop attaching, you know, the base of the hook here, you want to have a little opening right there. So just don't pull real tight, and you'll always have that opening. And what I do is I take my tag end after I've made the twist, and I'll feed it through that little loop at the base. And what that does is it creates a loop here. So then what I do is I just put it through, back through this loop. Now sometimes that doesn't hold very good. And when that's happening, especially if your tippet's wet, or certain types of tippet and fly line material can slip a little bit. So I actually like to go through that top loop twice, and that really makes that strong so it won't slip. Then what you do is you take your both tag ends and you begin to pull tight on it and pull it down tight. And then you trim the excess with your scissors, or on the stream, a lot of times you're going to be using nippers or fingernail clippers. And then that's your topwater fly. And you've got your tippet extended off of it, and now you can use the exact same knot to tie your bottom fly. So once you have that, you've got both of those flies linked together, and you can double your chances at catching a fish, or use your top fly as a strike indicator. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same knot. I'm going to do 4 or 5 twists, run this through the bottom hole, and then back up through the loop that just created. And it's a really simple knot to tie, and we'll do another close-up version of it. And then pull it tight. You got your knot. Trim your tag end. And what you have here is 2 flies, well in this case a big hook and a fly, linked together so that you can fish with your fly rod with 2 flies.